Oh, my goodness.
Alrighty. Good evening, everybody. I'll wait for quite a few more to get in before we start our shindig here. But anyway, Will, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening to you too.
How's it going? Tonight we take these bad boys to Watkins Glen, the phenomenal Watkins Glen. I'm gonna go over a little race information here, and then Will give you guys the retro style history of the 87s back when they raced the Glen. So, I'm gonna go over my thing real quick here. So, we're in Watkins Glen, New York. It's a 2.4 mile track. Current track temperature, Will, and everybody watching, is 93 degrees with an altitude of 445. The current weather outside for these drivers tonight is 77 degrees, 62% humidity, partly cloudy with a 7-mile-per-hour wind. Not too sure how much that wind is going to play a factor, but it is 25 laps, 61 miles, 70% fuel. They get 4 sets and a quick fix. So now I'll let Will go ahead and do the thorough history rundown of Watkins Glen, sir, and the floor is yours.
Yes, Watkins Glen up in the Finger Lake regions of northern New York. So it's nestled away in the hills. It's a very authentic American road course. Basically, so what transpired for about 20 years was just racing through the back roads of upstate New York as basically like what happened across Europe and other parts of the United States. There would either be, 6 to 8 miles of road, and that would be the track that they would have lay out, and they would race through the towns or race through the back roads, like I said. But that became a little bit too dangerous, so they eventually built an actual track up in the hills. This is what is now called Watkins Glen National Raceway. And there is a longer portion of the track, but we're not using that today. This is just the short, what is considered NASCAR layout, the short course. Anyway, so it's been around ever since the 70s, 60s, 70s was when this track was completely finished. I want to say it was 65 without looking at the actual dates, but it actually held Formula One Grand Prix for, I want to say 10 years. And until they got moved out west towards Las Vegas and Long Beach and whatnot out there on the West Coast. Anyway, so it's got a very historic career as far as hosting other events, but NASCAR finally came to the Glen late 70s, early 80s, if I'm not mistaken. And for about 10, 15 years, they raced here, unaltered the track and everything, and as well as IMSA, other racing series as well, sports cars, Trans Am raced here, and they finally had to incorporate the bus stop, which we're not using as well today. We're using the pre-94 layout, so the car should be topping just over 180 or 190, depending on how you come out of the S's onto that first back straightaway there before you hit the carousel. There is a slight bump, though, before you go into the carousel. It could bottom out the car, make the car a bit unsettling. You got to be careful how you take it, so just got to watch out. But it's predominantly 90-degree corners, whether it's left or right-hand corners. It's a mixture of left and rights, but they're predominantly 90-degree corners, so mostly simple, but can be like what turn one is. It's a downhill 90-degree right-hander. So for the most part, the track is clockwise instead of going counterclockwise, so it's a clockwise circuit for the most part, which means most of the corners you see here will be right-handers. So that's pretty much the rundown of the Glen. Also, the track where J.D. McDuffie died. Terrible accident going into the carousel, but like I said, that was one of the many incidences that led to them putting in that bus stop chicane area on the first back straightaway of this circuit. But 8 turns, I do believe, here at the Glen, or it could be 7 without the bus stop. But very can be technical, but it's mostly known for its high speed more than its technicality. Here at the Glen, very very fast paced, very rigorous track it can be, and it can catch you out very simple and very easily. More so, just really the downhill turn one can catch you out so simple here. But looks like that's going to be it for qualifying, Brian. Back to you.
They still got another about 3.5 minutes left. I gave them 10 minutes of qualifying so they can get in their 2 laps and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Extra time.
Yes, sir. But anyway, yeah,
So,
all that. It's very good, useful information. We get a lot of our drivers asked, and they like the information that you provide about a lot of the tracks. So that's why I think that's a good thing that it's what we do. Because a lot of them didn't know a lot of things, and we had a few people like, oh, well, I didn't know that driver did that there, and stuff like that. So any useful information that these drivers can get is awesome. So we'll just
yeah,
continue to do it.
a lot of automobile races before the outbreak of World War II and even after started popping up everywhere, whether it was, an enclosed circle dirt track or, like I said, a road circuit nestled out, in the back hills somewhere that would be considered almost like a rally race, in like today's standards. That's kind of what they were back in the day, just big rallies. But they were sometimes called Grand Prix before Formula One was ever a thing. They were called Grand Prix. Some circuits, like I said, range from just a few miles to there was one over in Europe that was I think like 60 something miles long. It ran through multiple small towns and villages and what have you. But yeah, it's kind of amazing how you could be racing in the streets for decades, or in the streets and in the roads for decades, and then finally somebody has the great idea of just building a track in the hills and actually just having an enclosed course, right? Like it took so many years for it to happen. Over 20 years they were racing, just out in the. There was actually, if I'm not mistaken, some kind of spectator deaths because of, back in the day, you could get so close to the actual cars as they're coming towards you, right? Kind of like how how it's kind of very similar to modern day rallying, how spectators get right up on the road, right? But similar to the 1955 Le Mans disaster, very very tragic, very similar to that. But we shouldn't probably talk about that here. So, but yes. 25 laps here, like you said, just over 60 miles, 61 miles in total. Shouldn't be that grueling on everybody, but grueling enough. These cars don't really have power steering. They have steering power, but it's probably not, it's not at all up to, today's standards.
Right now, I'm going to go over the starting grid real fast. So starting P1 would be Brandon Moore, P2 would be Caleb Sellner, P3 would be Brock Page, P4 would be Jason Pearson, P5 would be Jeff Taylor. P6 would be Joe Stutt. P7 would be Josh Small. P8 would be Jacob Carter. P9 would be Tyler Myers. P10 would be Aaron Bradford. P11 would be Philip Bridgman. P12 would be Austin Moore. P13 would be Paul Lawson. And P14 would be Christopher Campbell.
So, decent sized field for a road course race. And, Caleb Sellner's in the field, so, I like to call him our ringer specialist here. He just pops in whenever and always has a good chance to, I would say, win. So it looks like it could be a good, I don't want to say 3-horse race, but maybe even a 5-car race whenever it gets all down to it. So anybody really could truly win as long as they mind their P's and Q's and stay, between the lines, so to speak. Keep it on the island. All these other references I can keep trying to come up with and remember. I'll keep spouting them out, but as we statistically know, previously from, watching all the road course racing that we have, Brian, and just as we know who's kind of good that is in this field, that's kind of what we have to rely on.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, Will, who's going to be your pick to get the show done here tonight?
Well, Brian, I feel like I just kind of went over that, but...
Oh, Caleb?
Either Caleb or Brandon Moore, Brock Page. I mean, like I said, just about anybody could probably win this race as long as they just, stayed on the track, mind their P's and Q's and everything, and just mistake-free. You got to be here tonight because road course racing on iRacing, there's no cautions, so there's no resets really. Here, you just got to be truly mistake-free. Let the race come to you. And just try to be consistent. It's easier said than done, but that's really my pick at the moment. Brandon Moore, Caleb Sellner, Brock Page, one of those three, or anybody else. Anything can happen. We know that. We know that these drivers have to save at least anywhere from a half a lap of fuel to 2 laps of fuel. So. Some are probably most definitely just gonna bite the bullet and pit. Break the bullet. Pit, get it out the way. If they just go ahead and need to, if they can't save that, like I said, half a lap or 2. I love how even the pace car goes off the racing line.
So there was a lot of they said a lot of problems after they go down that long stretch before hitting the carousel. That bump there, they said that's going to be brutal, especially when it comes to the point of braking.
Well, most definitely. Whenever you're trying to, brake from 180, like I said, maybe 190 miles per hour down, you got to shift down to at least, second gear. You're in fourth, going down that back straightaway. There's probably going to be some wheel hopping involved. Some brake shake, there's no telling. And the start of the race, here we go. Brandon Moore going to get a good slight hole shot advantage going to turn 1. What is that advantage going to be on the exit here? As we see fairly clean getaway from everybody. That's good to see. Love to see it. Everybody now attacking the S's. Here they go, up through the S's. We saw that pole speed of, what was that, a minute 12, so getting around here quite fast. Everybody going into the carousel for the first time of asking here in the opening lap.
Nice and easy, they got it at the moment. First lap is good. You see Phillip all the way out there. Not too sure if he was forced out there.
Yeah, I don't know if him and Myers are coming together as they were both braking for the corner. Oh no, trouble. That's the 12 of Jeff Taylor. Don't know him, and
That's Austin Moore.
they were having to. Yeah, they were all having to check up. Really, it seemed like for the 97 and 9, Bridgman and Myers, whether they were, like we said, don't know if they were trying to prevent coming together or if they did actually touch there in turn, I believe that was turn 6, what would have been turn 6 or 7 there, leading to the final corner. They were all slow going through the final corner. That kind of log jam is right. Who is that? Is that Bradford? Bradford's dead.
No, that was JP.
Oh, well, Mr. Pearson is dead.
That's what I mean about that bump. Carrying all that speed, lock him up and
Yeah, I truly think he got on the brakes right at that perfect time, like we talked about. You know, you got to be careful going over these bumps here on the back straightaway. It can be quite bumpy. Looks like that's exactly what happened. As soon as he got on the brakes, the car took I would say a slight left, and really under braking, you don't want the car, any car really, to travel too much under braking. But it just, I don't know whether he had too much front brake in the car, but it just kind of, it started to go away on him, and there's that tire wall that kind of sticks out here because it is the tire wall that protects you on the exit of the bus stop, and man. And we should submit that to the iRacing, like not top 10 of January or something. I don't know how you submit those clips, but we should totally try to submit that into that if we can. I think Myers might have some damage from the neck coating or the pirouetting of JP there. If you know what I mean. Oh, and good possibility that damage is just a bit too upsetting. And as we saw under braking there with Tyler, the car just gets away from him. So I'm not sure if that has to do with the damage that he sustained whenever Pearson ricocheted back across the track, because yeah, there was a coming together with Myers whenever Pearson did what the car did. I don't want to necessarily say he did that. As we see, he got towed back to the pits miraculously, and iRacing with the fast repair, so he's back out there again. So love to see it. Just yeah, that's. Hopefully, he'll be a bit braver and brake a little bit later. You know what I mean? Because that was scary. Oh, well, maybe don't take my advice either. Don't maybe.
Oh, Carter goes around.
Oh.
Oh, Campbell goes through the infield.
Yeah, that's turn 1 there. So what we saw with Carter's incident, yeah, lots of mistakes here on just the, what is this, just the 4th lap of asking. Carter almost blew over. You know, they changed the physics of, 2 updates ago, that made these cars even more lighter when they get sideways, so they're even more potent to take off. That's just what we needed, you know what I mean?
You see here Austin Moore in front of Brock Page here.
Yeah, I think Brock had an incident as well, because him him and Jacob, they're way back the.
They pitted early.
Oh, okay, English as well. Reared its ugly head. So they pitted early, truly thinking that they weren't going to be able to make it all the way at all. We do believe and have speculation that you can make it all the way, just gonna have to see if that's true or not. There's also another thing that you could try to do. If your competition, pits, you stay out there on the track, hoping to extend your advantage that you have by being in the lead. Hopefully you can build up enough of a lead to where you can come out of the pits and hopefully either be there with that person that pitted way before you, or hopefully still have the lead. So that's going longer, or the overcut instead of the undercut. So 20 laps to go here, this 25-lap race. 5 laps already completed. They can get by with them pretty fast here, the short circuit here at the Glen.
You see Austin Moore carrying great runs through the carousel now. Doing the best that he can out here. First time ever in the 87's car. So
yeah, he wanted to buy one of them, see what these cars were like, see how they handled. He really likes racing road courses, so what better time to do it than now, I suppose. That's what he thought today. So I would say a lot of a lot of proudness is what I was trying to go for, of actually seeing somebody, wanting to try, give it a try with these cars, because these cars can be a handful at times. Probably all the time would probably be the better term to use, but I can imagine they are a fun, car to drive. If I'm not mistaken, Project Cars had a Ford, I want to say it was like the 90s, like it wasn't quite the 87-ish. I think they had like a 90s Ford. It was quite fun, but I could only imagine how much on the wheel you have to be, as Austin just loses it going out of the exit of the carousel and lost the steering. He's going to limp it back to the pits, hopefully get the fast repair and get back out there, it looks like. So, as we see here, trying to limp it back home. Unfortunate break, as the commentator's curse, it seemed to reared its ugly head. We're trying to talk somebody up, and then bam, they found a wall. How unfortunate. Seems to always go that way.
normally 9 times out of 10 it does. So, but now he can go in and pit, and hopefully be easier coming out. We really don't need. I don't think he slid his tires too much, so I think he should be alright. So Brandon Moore, Caleb, and Joe is your top 3. Followed behind him is Bridgman Campbell, Brock Page, Jeff Taylor, and Paul Lawson. And then Carter.
Can you tell how long of a pit stop that Page and Carter had when they pitted? Like how long they were stopped in the box for?
I think. Last time I saw, it was 21 seconds.
Okay, so if it's a 21-second stop for the both of them, then they took full service.
Or 17. You know what? Hold on, wait. I can probably pull that up.
If Brandon does have to pit this race, do we think he might have some, is he going to take any tires? What would be Brandon's call? Because we've seen in the past where Brandon decides not to take tires, come back out, and he actually makes just a load of mistakes, so. What is that game plan? What's the strategy? You know,
Um,
I'd have to say it's a good pace that Brandon is setting. You know, Caleb, if I'm not mistaken, last time we saw 4 seconds back. That's him coming out of the S's as Brandon was basically going into the carousel. So
that just gives the total time on pits that they were there.
10-4. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to the bottom of the screen. I didn't see there was a pop-up whenever they pitted early, so I didn't know. I just saw that they were down the order. Then you said they pitted, so I was just curious what what their pit stop time could have been. That way, take a rough guesstimate of if they were just pitting for fuel or if it was a full service stop, because kind of get a rough guesstimate of to maybe what, if anybody else was going to pit, what could be their strategy, out of, say, like the other people that are up in the front, the front runners as well. So Selner 7 seconds back. He could, though, in essence, be saving fuel, because like we talked about right before they went green, these drivers possibly having to save at least a lap and a half to 2 laps, anywhere from a half a lap to 2 laps, so just depending on how hard you were pushing, right? So it looks like JP might have had another moment, or that might have been Lawson.
That was Lawson.
Got to be careful of these rumble strips right here coming out of the carousel exit on that left-hand side, because these cars can get kind of finicky going over the rumbles. Got to be careful.
Oh yeah. See Philip Bridgman here. Got by Joe. For P3.
Yeah, I was about to say, I believe that was a podium spot right there, so.
Oh, no. That's all right.
Yeah, Campbell and Page having a moment there, coming together under braking, it looks like. Right as Campbell applied pressure on the brakes, car started to do a little bit of brake shake, a bit of wheel hopping in the back. Left sides touched the grass, and the car just kind of tank slapped back across in Brock. Like I said earlier, that downhill braking portion, Brian, kind of is what caught Chris out there. I wouldn't say really nothing, just really a mistake. I wouldn't really say just things like that are very likely to happen here at the Glen. It's very easy for the cars to just kind of back out from underneath you as you're trying to brake for the downhill portions.
Oh yeah. Austin Moore having a rough go, but he was doing very good earlier on, and then the car ended up kicking out from underneath him in front of Brock. It seemed like Brock had the magnet on his car today, so at the moment, he got away with the first one.
Now these cars, they can have so much horsepower, they can be very tempting to just, want to throttle back up off the corner exit or going through a corner especially, and that can whip you so easily around, as we see Austin kind of looping it in the carousel there. Luckily, he was able to whip it around. Oh, loses it somewhat again, but keeps it going straight enough not to go into the Armco.
Oh,
Okay, he ricocheted out of the Armco. My apologies. Oh, okay. So looks like Austin could be done for the evening.
I would say so. So Caleb's in the pits.
Yep. So it truly looks like everybody has to at least make one pit stop to get them enough gas to get home on.
Just like that, Caleb. Now all set, but now can he go chase down Brock Page? Oh, Myers goes around. It's tricky.
Turn one blues here this evening. It seems like a lot of just mistakes happening in or about turn one.
Oh yeah.
Another one of, like I said, those 90-degree corners can really catch you out.
They can, absolutely. Tricky track in these cars, so.
Yeah, these old, big heavy stock cars, especially back in the day, they weren't necessarily, built to go road course racing, but they did give it a good effort. You have to admit, watching a lot of those old races from back in the day and seeing stock cars on the road courses like back at Riverside or when they started going to Sonoma, very cool to watch, indeed, how they really get thrown into the corners.
Caleb's only going to take that for so much.
So going down the back straightaway, Caleb kind of has the preferred line and does have fresh tires. So, looked like Phillip kind of rolled out of it. He was on the what would kind of be called the dirty line going into the corner. So, kind of thought better of it, rolled out. Just didn't have the line at the moment. Looks like we might see Phillip in that lap, or no, I think he stays out. So, just didn't have a good final turn, it looked like. So
Caleb's going to try everything he can to go run down Brock.
Oh, he's only a few seconds back from Brock, so it looks like it's going to be a slobber knocker of a battle for the P2 here. Don't know if Brandon's going to actually pit or not, though, Brian. Looks like 10 laps to go. He's got pretty much a half a track lead, or better, more than a half a track lead. So Tyler Myers having another oopsie, this time on the opposite end of the track. So Brock just a couple of seconds away from meeting Sellner again, or Sellner opposite, vice versa, however you like to word that. You can see Brock's line coming out of the carousel where he kind of straddles that rumble strip to driver's left, so.
But yet again, though, Brock Page just has some damage from a few cars making some contact with him. So, like that. Got real tight, couldn't finesse it to turn. You see his brakes are glowing, so that's going to...
Yeah, most definitely just couldn't get the front end of the car to bite down into the center of the corner. Couldn't get to the apex. That probably really upset Brock a lot, knowing Brock, that very upsetting, very frustrating as a racing driver trying to get the car to turn into the corner, but the car just wants to run wide, and you actually lose a position because of it. Like you said, mainly probably has to do with a lot of lingering damage that, like we have seen, he's just kind of been one of the magnets of the race here this evening. It just kind of happens where you just kind of get caught up in some stuff, it seems like. It's almost the game of chance sometimes. Oh my goodness, JP and Myers getting caught up on the what I like to call the second backstretch, the backstretch that you get shot into after the carousel. Did Carter go all the way around? No, he did not. Okay. I got excited for a minute, but watching a replay here of the latest Myers incident as JP barely grazes the Myers car, and that's probably going to do it for both of those drivers this evening. Myers was giving it a real good, honest effort, and I would say JP was doing pretty good after he got the car repaired after going for a gnarly ride. But that's probably going to do it for that Kellogg's machine there today.
Yep.
Had a couple of hops and probably at least a couple of toe links broken, and that's probably going to be it for, like I said, that Kellogg's machine today.
You see Carter there having some slippery.
Now he's drifting. He is really working hard to stay on the island. This has really turned into a race of attrition, which I got to be honest, some being our road course races just kind of turn out that way. Looking back at, historical incidences, or precedents that we have here. That's just kind of how they kind of crumble sometimes. They just become races of attrition. The road courses can be that way. Most of the time, if it's, really it's either super speedways and road courses where you can just get so tempted into trying that extra much, and sometimes that extra was just too much, and like we've seen here in a couple of cases this evening, it's just over that limit.
Oh yeah. 6 laps to go, Will, here tonight, as Jacob Carter looking to run down Philip Bridgman.
I don't think neither of these drivers want to be in, fourth or fifth. Apparently, they are trying everything they can to, it seems like, kind of throw it away for each other.
Oof. You see Carter had to crack the throttle there, didn't want to clip Carter in the rear. Yeah, clip Carter in the rear. Clip Phillip in the rear.
Been a real intriguing race so far, leading up to the final 5 laps here that we're about to see. We've had Brandon Moore, our race leader, who he's led all 20 laps so far. Don't know if he's going to make that pit stop or not, but we kind of speculate everybody at least maybe having to make, or possibly could stay out, so I think Phillip and Brandon are the only two that haven't pitted.
Correct.
So
Phillips, no he ain't. Oh, Jacob. There you go. There you go.
Oh man, great battle here for fourth between these two competitors. Fourth and fifth position here.
Oh, don't lean on the quarter.
Side by side going up through the S's, Brian. This is some great stuff for sure.
Oh yeah. Then Carter now clears him, so now he will take that P4 away from Phillip.
At least until he makes his next mistake, because like we've been watching, these two drivers, they are most definitely, at least from the looks of things, they're trying to throw it away from themselves, but they're still managing to keep it on the island. Oh, that was one spin that Jacob could not drive out of.
Very unfortunate for Carter.
Yeah, drifting all these corners, finally bidding, Brian.
Yeah, but here comes the race leader there, and here comes Campbell.
Yeah, you could see how far back fourth and fifth position actually was to the race leader, so almost an entire lap just about, so.
So Brandon Moore up here in the front, coming to 3 to go, this time by.
Yep, Thursday evening drive, just driving Miss Daisy from the looks of things.
Oh, well, next week is Talladega. So that should be an intriguing race, for sure. A lot of little lifting, a little bit. That goes in with that. Because unfortunately on those tracks you cannot wide open it. You have to give it a little burp. So Brandon Moore in his own little zip code there. Not too sure if he's going to have to pit. If I'm Phil, I would just, alright, I'm going to go pit, take the fuel, and what's that, I ain't got nothing. So
well, he could have saved enough, to be honest, back there just riding, for the most part, like we said, we saw how far back their differential actually was to the race leader. You know, they're 50, well, they're over a minute now, you know, behind the race leader, which, like we talked about, you know, only a minute and 12 was the pole-setting lap, so if he's still able to run 112s, at least 114s, Brian, if he's running still 114s, you know, he's setting a decent pace here. It looks, from the looks of things, he's looking to have a good minute, or he's looking to have a good amount of fuel, it seems like, left, is what I'm trying to get out, to where he's not going to have to make a pit stop, either, you know, Brandon Moore or Phillip. They're trying to get it home without making that pit stop that everyone else has chosen to make. It's not required, just if you feel the need that you had to make it. A lot of these drivers felt like they needed to go in and make that pit stop. Some couldn't probably save it, so the final lap of the race, Brandon Moore, he's just been very patient riding behind Campbell. Probably got up behind Campbell and just kind of decided, hey, I don't necessarily need to. So from the looks of things, Brandon Moore has been setting 116s. He's fallen down.
I'm not sure if he's out of gas.
Well, let's get an onboard with him real quick, Brian, because this is the final lap. This is the white flag lap. He could just... Well, the car still has power from the sounds of things, but there's a red flashing light.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah.
He's
So
cutting his car off.
Brandon Moore coming off the final corner here, Brian, to take the checkered flag here at the Glen. So most definitely had enough to get to the end, get him home. And Caleb Sellner is going to come home in second place. Here's the 99.
There you go. Caleb second. Brock Page will be third.
Yep.
Phillip will be fourth. Campbell's going to bring her home in sixth. I mean fifth. Carter will bring her home in sixth. Whew. Well, that is... That'll do the race here. There's our final standings from Watkins Glen. You see Brandon Moore, Caleb, and Brock is your top three podium finishers, and Phillip, Campbell, Carter, Taylor, Stite, Pearson, Myers, Lawson, Moore, Small, and Bradford. So that is that. I would say overall, I was pretty good.
Oh yeah, I would say a pretty decent Watkins Glen race. For what we had here. Like, didn't Brandon Moore? I would say kind of kept us on our toes because we didn't know if he was going to have to pit or not because everybody else pretty much pitted, but him and Phillip, those two were able to make it all the way. We've kind of known Phillip as kind of a fuel saver at times, and Brandon, he was just out front setting his own pace, and that's kind of what I think truly allowed him to save enough. So what is that? Five cars, 6 cars, because he let Jacob by there on the last lap, so 6 cars finish on the lead lap here.
Yes, sir. We're going to rally the troops up. We're going to step away real quick, and then we'll go ahead and do our interviews. So, first one we'll talk to is Mr. Brock. Mr. Page.
Howdy.
How's it going, sir?
I'm glad that's over.
Yeah. Alright, well, go ahead.
Well,
Oh, never mind. I thought you said, well, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, well and will very easily similar, eerie mistaken words. But yes, Brock, you and kind of confidant Carter, kind of had that strategy of early pitting there. It almost kind of worked, and then it seemed like after you came out of the pits, even a little bit before that, you just had a magnet on your car this evening, Brock.
Yeah. I gotta be a good boy. People just racing way too hard, way over their head. A few of them. Congrats to Brandon. That was a dominant win. I don't think anybody's gonna have anything for him. Lap times he was running, so.
There's a
I
gorilla
guess
poster.
I guess it was an alright race. I don't know. I was racing Jacob. I didn't care about the 13 other cars. I was after Jake, racing for the points. So I'm just glad to come out of here on the good end of it. He wrecked like twice.
Yes, he did.
I'm so excited to go to Talladega next week. That's one of the.
Yes, you and
Normally, I would dread Talladega, but in this car, it actually isn't this. It's not the same as it is in like the next gens. Like you actually kind of have to finesse the car. You can't just hold it
It's
wide
fun.
open and hold the yellow line. You actually can, manhandle the car, and it means something. So, very
Right.
excited for that.
Yeah, Talladega should be a fun one, and then after that, I believe it's 5 races left or 4. I'll have to double check. But anyway, yes, tried to throw a mixture of all sorts of different curveballs and whatnot. We got the Milwaukee Mile coming up in the next few weeks as well, so that should be fun in these cars. Just different things. It should look fun from a spectator's point. Probably kind of irritating at times from the driver point, Brock.
I
But
love Milwaukee. Brian knows.
Right,
he was in there with me in the Gen 4s. If you
Yeah.
remember
oh man,
that.
that had to been killer. But
It was awesome.
yeah. So takeaways, or maybe what strategy maybe you could have done differently to maybe have something for Brandon, perhaps, or was he just too lights out here this evening, Brock?
My strategy to beat Brandon would have been to wreck him on the initial restart.
Oh,
I'm just playing. I don't think there's anything I could have done. I don't even know if I had anything for him. I mean, I was close with him on lap times, but I was just more concerned with beating Jake. Like that's really
Right,
where I was
because
at with that, with the points.
you guys with the tight points battle.
Yeah, I think it's like 5 points or something like that. So I don't think I scored any bonus points because I didn't lead or nothing like that this week. So no bonus points. Takeaway from this race is I never want to do this again.
Well, we'll probably throw a different road course on the 87s if we do 87s again. We'll just have to see what the future brings, Brock. But final thoughts, shout-outs, anything else you'd like to add, Brock, before we let you go?
Shout out to y'all as always. Also want to give a shout out to Moza Racing for making a absolute unit for wheels. I would like to upgrade soon, but I don't know if that's going to happen. It's probably going to be like another year or so. Shout out to my sponsors. I should say one sponsor, really. The rest are just kind of thrown on there against their will. Keep Digging is a new merch line for sim racers. Am I allowed to promote my code on here or no? I meant to ask you that earlier.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, if you want to go on Keep Digging, it's a merch site for sim racers. He's not got a whole lot on there. He's got some things. There's more stuff coming. If you use my code BPage6225, you'll save 25% off your first order. My other shout out goes to most of the guys in here tonight. A few of them, not so much. Shout out to Brandon, Caleb. It's about it. Jake, I guess. Jake didn't get in my way. Everybody else is kind of all over the place. Yeah, man, I'm ready for next week. Sucks Brian is not going to be here. Is the race still going to be broadcasted, or how's that working?
Well, the way things are looking now, from the way it looks now, I will be here.
Oh,
So,
sweet. Are
only
things better, or
because-
did it get worse?
Only because I think Pops is going in for surgery, so.
Well, still saying some prayers for you, buddy.
Thank you.
That's my next shout out is to the good Lord blessing us with these days and nights and this hobby, this time that we can get on here and just kind of forget about what's going on in the real world. Just get on here and try to have fun. Sometimes it's not fun, but most of the time, 80% of the time, this is fun. Shout out to the old lady for, taking care of the baby while I'm in here. I'm in here for a good 3 hours doing this stuff, so appreciate her helping me out and letting me still do this, because most people aren't as fortunate when they have kids. They kind of have to step away from doing this, so I appreciate her doing that for me. Yeah, man, I'm actually looking forward to the Cup Series. I'm interested in dipping my feet into the open setup stuff. I've started to do it on the dirt side, so there's always room for improvement. Like tonight, I was doing the auto blip because I don't know how to heel toe, so I need to learn how to do that. But I'm ready to go to bed. It's been a long week.
Yes, I see that. But anyway, we'll let you get out of here so you can go spend time with your lady and the baby. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week at Dega. Hopefully you keep the points lead. Hopefully you stay out of all the crazy stuff, if there is any crazy stuff that goes on at Talladega. Me and Will know how Talladega
You're wild.
goes.
You're wild for thinking that nothing crazy is gonna go down at Talladega. What are you on?
Hey, you never
I
know.
want whatever drugs you're on, cause Jesus.
A vapor and a nice cold bottle of Dr. Pepper.
Hey, I love me some Dr. Pepper.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, buddy, go enjoy your time with the family. We'll catch you on the flip side, and congrats on the P3, still ahead of Jacob. So
That's all that matters.
yeah. So best luck to you next week, and we'll see you then.
All right, thank you.
No problem, bub. Next up, Caleb. Mr. Caleb.
Hello, hello, hello.
Well, how's it going, sir?
Pretty dang good.
Well, I see that. You end up finishing P2. Hell yeah. Anyway, Will, I'll let you take the floor. The floor is yours.
Well, good evening, Caleb. You just wasn't able to save enough, or was Brandon just that much better this evening? Like, what happened? Like, I truly have to know. There was a slight hope of maybe somebody having something for Brandon. I thought that could have been you, and then you were like 7 seconds away from him at one point, and then I'm like, oh, maybe he's just saving. Were you just saving? What was going on?
I was trying to a little bit there before I pit, but I was a little bit short even while saving, so I decided to pit and take a strategic call of taking tires, which overall didn't work as well as I planned, but I just didn't have. I was just shy while saving.
Do you think we'll see any more this season there, Caleb?
I hope so.
Well, I hope so too. You always make the racing interesting. Was there anything really that you were struggling with, like that was kind of hampering you from being able to run down Brandon?
I couldn't get the rear to break loose. I was as tight as a dump truck out there. So just sitting there struggling with the fronts overheating just constantly, not getting the rear to behave.
Right. And what was it like really going into the carousel, that back straightaway, like basically not using the bus stop?
It wasn't as I didn't have as much of a problem of it as other people did. A lot of people were complaining about the bump breaking them loose or making them lock up, and I didn't really have any problems with it. It was I braked a little bit before it, so I maybe locked up just a tiny bit going over it, but never really had a problem with going into it. But throughout the carousel, it was, like I said, tight.
Gotcha. So just really hard to get the car to turn or rotate for you, eh?
Yeah, it was just crazy.
You gonna be back, say, like the Milwaukee Mile, or maybe even next week at Talladega, perhaps? Or where are you eyeing to come back again, Caleb?
Hopefully next week, but I'm not too sure. Schedules are tight for Thursdays.
Gotcha. A lot of conflicting stuff. So you're going to be running a lot of like Daytona, coming up, like the next week or so.
Where's running Daytona?
Like all of like the Daytona like 24 and like all of like the like all the stuff that comes before. Yeah, like all that stuff.
I plan on doing the 2.4, the Roar. Plan on doing the 24 with my excellent team of Cameron, David, and Samuel. I think we can hopefully do really well there for the 24.
Well, best of luck to you there, Caleb. In the 24, and like you said, in the basically like the Michelin Pilot Challenge as well. So, yep. Hopefully, we'll see you in the coming weeks. With the schedules, hopefully, won't be so conflicting, and we'll see more of you. Best, runner-up finish here, second place this evening here at Watkins Glen. Such an easy track, but easy to kind of drive into a mistake here at the Glen, I like to say. Wouldn't you kind of say that's a very similar thing to agree with?
Oh, very much so. And I have to give a big shout out to Brandon for keeping it clean, keeping it feel good, always keeping it on track. He did great. But yeah, it's pretty tough out here to keep it nice and clean.
Well, any other shout-outs you'd like to give, Caleb, before we let you go celebrate your second place?
Always you guys for broadcasting, Brian for running the league, everybody else running the league, my dad for getting me into the league, and everybody for running.
Well, thank you for talking to us tonight, and hopefully we'll see you more in the coming weeks, Caleb.
Yep.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
No problem. Last but not least, Brandon Moore. Brandon Moore.
Yes, sir.
Well. You done did it.
I done did it. There was no dick savage tonight.
Oh my goodness.
You done didn't step on your feet going through this turn. What a dominant performance you had there tonight in that 47 machine. Miller High Life. It looks like it was on rails from the start. Practice, you were putting down those quick times and all that. How was the car handling throughout the race? Was there any sketchy parts of the track, or what maybe was the difficult part of
the whole car is just sketchy out there on the road courses in an 87. 1 second it's a plow horse, the next second it's wanting to freaking cut your head off on the corner exit. You just have that feeling where you feel like you got a freaking elephant on your hood trying to make a corner, and all of a sudden it just jumped to the back end. The most... Go ahead.
I was going to say, that sounds about right.
That's about the gist of it. But the sketchiest place, obviously, and probably the other top three, probably told you the bump going into the that one section, whatever it's called, the carousel. Yeah, that was death. You pretty much had to brace the wheel as hard as you could to keep it straight, because it feels like the whole back end was lifting up. I don't know what it looked like on camera, but my back end felt really light going through there, and you just had to kind of manhandle it to keep it straight.
It looked kind of sketchy at times. It looked very... there was certain drivers out there that just was letting it kind of hang out, I guess you could say, going through some of the corners. And
there was some driftage out there.
Oh, there was. Jacob was definitely... Jacob was probably the lead drifter of the night, if I have to give awards out for anything like that.
So it got better though towards the end of the run because the tires were getting so hot and worn that you had to back the corner up and you were braking way before the bump. So it was already kind of settled and it made it a lot better. But that initial fresh tires, trying to get the most out of them, yeah, that was sketch.
Right on. There was.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask Brandon, like, how difficult was it to save the fuel that you needed to make it all the way without pitting, and while maintaining the pace that you had? It every time we saw you, you were out there just keeping it between the lines, mistake free. We never really saw your car get too far out of your control. So, just how'd you do it, Brandon?
So I made
Without
one
giving away your
mistake.
secrets.
Yeah, I had one mistake. Going into T1, I got in a little deep and it got loose under the brakes, and I kind of went over the outside curb and kind of kept it straight. It may look normal on stream or whatever, but it got a little out of shape. But other than that, it was pretty good. But fuel savings was probably really not even my own doing. It might have been natural savings of backing up the corners, making sure I wasn't overdriving them as the tires wore. So obviously, you're going to be using a little bit less fuel than what you were at the initial start of the run. But towards the latter part of the run, say 5 to go, I had to start really backing it down. I was just trailing behind a lap car, and I think I had maybe half a lap, if that, by the time I hit the start-finish line. It just worked out. I don't know, maybe the Buick does a little bit better gas mileage than the rest of them. Who knows? I don't know if there was any other people who stayed out. I know y'all probably
You
know
and
that
Phil.
more than I would.
You and Phil.
Was Phil in a Buick?
No.
No, he was in a Pontiac.
All right, so throw that out the window then. It ain't nothing to do with the Buick. All right. But natural savings, and then backing it off the last 3 laps, I was kind of just coasting around because I had so much lead because everybody else pitted.
Yep. So next week is Talladega.
Oh boy.
What's
What's your thought process and everything going into old
Survive.
Dega?
Survive. Survival of the fittest. I will be in the back. Mark my words, I will be in the back. Because it is going to be sketchy.
right on?
Like, how sketchy are you predicting?
Well, we're going to be going probably 212 to 215 miles an hour. And we're probably going to have a big field considering it's Talladega in 87. So we'll probably have about 20 some odd cars out there trying to bump draft when you probably shouldn't. And there's going to be chaos. So we are going to avoid said chaos in the back.
Well, good battle plan going into next week. Can't wait to see if he can come out, unscathed or not.
Probably
chances
won't.
are.
Chances are he won't.
So,
if you're going to flip your dick off anywhere, it's going to be at Talladega.
I don't expect you to do it anymore, but man, you slip them in so subtly, and it's like you just cut me off guard every time now, and it's like now I got to be mindful of you anyway. But yeah, Brandon, any final thoughts, shout outs, anything else you'd like to add about tonight's race there?
I just want to thank all the drivers who came out to participate in tonight's event, and thank the broadcast booth as always. Thank everyone who came out to watch the stream, and you're definitely not going to want to miss next week at Talladega because it is going to be chaos, and chaos is fun to watch when it comes to 87, so you'll want to tune in next week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Awesome job tonight on snagging the win. Keeping those guys behind you. Looking forward to seeing what you can do next week at Dega. Normally staying in the back will get you to the front when they use all their quick fixes, so I guess you just hang out and watch
All
the
one
show.
of them. I'm assuming we have one.
Yeah.
Oh boy. How many laps?
Hold on. I'll let you know in a minute. Talladega is, from what I have here, 60 laps.
Okay, you're gonna have 5 cars running at the end of that race.
Yay, Atlanta flashbacks.
I am. I'm having flashbacks.
Yeah. But anyway,
I mean,
buddy,
this race kind of turned into a race of attrition, you know, like it so next week probably it'll be the same. I believe it almost. I don't want to believe it, but
I
I
just
can
want to.
see it.
All right, so we have to do over or under, and we're gonna talk about it next week. Oh, after the race, over or under on the blowovers. Over or under 5.
I'll go under.
Under 5. What about you, Brian?
oh, what a hit from Joe. I'm gonna say probably over, maybe.
Over. Absolutely, I'm going with over. So we're gonna see who's right. There's gonna be a lot of blowovers.
Yes, sir. But anyway, you go celebrate this win, and we'll chit chat with you in a few.
All right, sounds good. Thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Anyway, Will, that will do it here tonight from the wonderful Martin. Wow, not Martinsville. Watkins
Yeah, that's a
Glen.
few hundred miles away.
Yeah, from the Glen. So, I would say overall good race. A lot of ups, a lot of downs for some. So yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I'd say it was a pretty good race overall. Like I said, became kind of a race of attrition there for pretty much almost everybody, except for Brandon. He kind of looked like he had no problems whatsoever. Him and Caleb, you know, they're almost always on a different level whenever it comes to most of the time in road course racing in a stock car. They just seem to be able to get around places so better than most. But yeah, I think if Caleb wasn't fighting, you know, the struggles that he was having, like he said, trying to get the car to just bite, you know, get through the center of the corners for the most part, he probably could have been up there with Brandon, but he was struggling with that this evening, and that can really hamper the progression you're trying to make. And you know, we saw a lot of comers and goers because of just the mistakes that was being made early on, and then just saw who was able to, like I said earlier, keep it between the lines. And I do have to agree, overall, pretty good Watkins Glen race for, like I said, what we had. So can't wait to see what next week in stores for Talladega. That race almost never disappoints. It can come down to where everybody's out of the race and there's only a few cars left, and you got to make do with what you got. But hopefully it'll be a good barn burn, and that's for next week. So next week always seems to have a good one in store. So yep, Talladega is next week. So
yes, sir.
just don't know how much more we could hype up Talladega that already, you know, can, you know, there's so much hype you could do with Talladega, you know.
Oh yeah. But anyway, we'll close it out here. For myself and Will, we want to thank you guys for coming on out here tonight to enjoy a good show here at the Glen. Couldn't thank you guys enough for coming out. But even all the drivers, it was a great showing for the Glen. Decent field. We had one blowover, unfortunately. Hard hit by Mr. Jason. Hopefully he's okay. Didn't catch word from him yet. So, but hoping to be here next week for Talladega. Fingers crossed. So, for myself, Will, we want to thank you guys for coming on out, tuning into the broadcast, cheering on your favorite drivers, and just giving us a follow and a like and trying to get the word out. So, we couldn't thank you guys so much. So, well, you have any final things here?
Now just can't wait for next week at Talladega, Brian.
Yes, Talladega is going to be an awesome show to watch. So hopefully we can carry the momentum from Watkins Glen over to Talladega. So once again, you guys all be safe. Have a good night. Love your family ever so close, and you just never know how much